programming mechanic in Nightfall at Camp Havenwood works with each player putting cards into a common discard pile until they have met the number of turns that are in a particular scene. This scene that we're going to show you is Welcome to Camp. It has 3 squares here indicating that there are 3 turns in this particular scene. We have our board set up with a red meeple, green meeple, blue meeple, and a white meeple representing the horror in this particular game. The red player being the first player, they would play their card first to this common discard pile. Blue would be next, playing theirs. Green would play theirs. Since that's the first turn of the scene, so we go to the second turn. Red plays theirs. Blue's going to play their card. Green's going to play theirs. And then the third turn in a scene has a special rule. Not particular every scene, but this particular scene, because each one of these turns will have different squares with different symbols. The black square indicates that the players need to play their card face down, and so there's no way for them to actually communicate about this. So the red player would take their third card, place it face down, then the blue player, and then the green player. Once the number of cards for the number of turns has been met, the players' turns actually take effect in the order in which they were played. So we flip that deck over. We will flip the first card over that was played, which is red. Tells us that we're going to search. Search tells us that the red player is going to take the top card from the item deck in the location which they are. And we're going to add one to the horror action track, which we have on the side here. This is how the horror is going to interact with us. Once the track accumulates cards equal to the number of players, minimum 3, and we have 3 players in this game, then the players' turns will pause and the horror will activate. So we're going to put 1 over in the horror action track. The red player is going to take the top card from his search, finding a Canoer, which is fantastic. He's going to take that and put that on his board, so he has something to fight with. The next card in our programming track is going to be a blue walk. The blue player has to move 1 space, and he's actually going to move down to the outhouse. Now, the walk has that same horror action track symbol, and it just says for every 2 walks that resolve, you're going to add 1 card to the horror action track. Green then activates and walks. Green is going to get brave and is going to move up to that horror. Okay, and that's the second walk we resolved, so we're going to add 1 card to the horror action track. Red is now going to walk. Again, adding half a point to the horror action track. Blue is going to search. I'm going to draw that top card, which is a doll. An awful little doll if you've seen the other videos. It's going to attach itself to the blue player, taking up one of his hands. And that search is going to add 1 more card to the horror action track. At this point, the player's turns pause. We take the 3 cards, and we'll be a little more in depth as far as what they can and cannot be in another video. We'll put them back in the correct order in which they were played, and then we're going to reveal those one at a time. So the top card here is a fight action. So the horror would deal damage equal to its attack or whatever weapon it's carrying to the green player. The next card is a walk. So depending on the horror, they're going to check in different ways. They're going to look proximity first, whoever's closest to them. If there's no one to go after there, they're going to look in straight lines. And if there's a tie at any point, they're actually going to use the awareness that we've talked about in other videos to determine who's making the most noise, drawing the most attention, and he's going to go to that player. If all else fails, if he doesn't have straight lines or proximity, then he's going to check to the north gate, and he's going to work clockwise around until he finds someone in that general location, and he's going to move toward them. Once he's done that, so right now, if this were the embodiment of evil, he can move diagonally. So he would check, and we have 1 guy here, we have red. He would move diagonally to red. And then he'd reveal his last card, which is a walk, in which case he would move right back here to green. And then we would go back to the player's turns. So that tells us that green is now going to fight. And since the horror is back there, and we know green picked up that canoe ore earlier, he's going to break that canoe ore. Did he not?
It was the red.
Oh, wait. No, red picked up that. Whoops. You know, sometimes we pick up what we didn't see what was picked up. So, green is going to fight, but he doesn't have a weapon, so he's going to do 0 damage. Poor guy just punched him and embarrassed himself. Now, red's going to run, because he already saw what was going to happen if that horror moves again. So he's going to run 2 spaces. Now, he is perfectly allowed to move 1 space, then move back if he'd like. But he's actually going to move 1 space down and 1 space over. Blue is going to stand ready. And these are actually going to be separated if you can see these. You have separate stacks. These are called resolution piles. It makes it very easy to give the cards back to the players. But it also allows us to see exactly what's going on with each player as the actions happen. So blue is standing ready. So if the horror comes down there and if blue had a weapon and the horror attacks him, he'd have to take the damage. If he survives, then he gets a free attack back. And finally, green has a hide card ready on top of his deck. And so that allows for the green player to not be attacked. However, if the horror searches the area where the green player is, the green player takes 1 point of collateral damage. Check out the rest of our videos.